I'm Sean Edwards, and you're here with Rolling Out watching Star Studio.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isaiah Parrish. I'm here with Rolling Out Star Studio. Today, I'm here with Sean Edwards, a recent Juilliard graduate. Sean, tell us about yourself today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Like you said, I'm a recent Juilliard graduate. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I play percussion. That's me.
That's you. All right, let's get started. I want to know what made you start taking music seriously. Who put that first instrument or microphone in your hand?
All right. So two different questions. So I started playing music in like third grade. I was putting in band. I used to get in trouble a lot for like tapping on desk and stuff. So they allowed me to join the band early. I had to take the audition tester thing. From there, I went to a group called Percussion Scholarship Program in Chicago, not South Side of Chicago, in Chicago, under the direction of Douglas Waddell and Patricia Dash. And they allowed me to take percussion lessons. They offered them for free, which was very beneficial to my career path. But I don't think I took music serious then. Keep in mind it's fourth grade, kind
Hmm.
of, going with the flow, everything,
Experiencing everything. Yeah.
doing what my
Yeah.
parents tell me to do. I didn't really start taking music serious until I started seeing that it could change my life. And once I started to see that, it's like, in order for anything to change your life, you got to treat it like it's going to change your life. So
Mm.
it's coming from the south side of Chicago. I think at 15, that's when I got accepted to the National Youth Orchestra. And that was like the inaugural year that they did NYO2. So from there, they flying me out. I went out to New York for the first time, went to Philly, Miami, like a mini tour. So it's like
Hmm.
from where I come from, seeing that like motivated me to start doing more. And then I start like, winning these competitions. I receive scholarships. I start being placed in rooms where I can start seeing different opportunities, and it also allowed for different opportunities to see me, so it's just been a build of that.
Moving a little bit forward, how was that transition into Juilliard, and what lessons did you take being from the South Side of Chicago into a big city like New York? Two completely different sides of the spectrum in terms of environment.
Well, I want to start by saying New York and Chicago, where they were a lot more similar than I expected them to be. New York
Mm.
is like Chicago on steroids. Within that, though, I would say the Juilliard experience is like its own little bubble. And to really answer your question, I feel like my experience at Juilliard was kind of like unlearning and redirecting the things that I learned growing up in terms of like learning to communicate effectively, learning to articulate myself, becoming aware of my emotions. Like growing up, and before I say this, I want to put out there, like I'm not saying that I grew up any type of way, but
Hmm.
I feel like being from certain communities, it's a certain familiarity that comes with, So it's like growing up like that, it's almost like we're taught to not even hide the emotions, not just not have emotions. Almost. It's like you
Yeah.
come up, you're a baby, it starts from when you're young, you fall and they like stop crying, you better not cry, you're not hurt for real.
Shelter.
Right.
Yeah.
So like being out there, it kind of forced me to look into that, find out who I really am.
So you talked about emotions. What stories or emotions would you say you're most drawn to express, like through your music and whatever you may create?
All right, so that's interesting because you got to keep in mind that a lot of the times I'm not playing my own music. My job is just to bring the vision of the composer and give life to that. Of course, I have my own like interpretations of that, but it's in the framework of their vision. Let's use like Beethoven or Bach. You go back then, so when I'm playing a new piece by them, I go and I find the recordings and stuff, and then I see like, all right, this is certain things that are set in stone. This is the framework of it. And then you have
Mhm.
people who is like, all right, they did this, they did this. It becomes a game of like telephone. It's like,
Mhm.
all right, I'm figuring out like, all right, I like what they did. I don't really like what they did. I think I can do this to, it becomes that type of thing. And then there's another flip side of it when you're working with like living composers, where it's like, all right, cool. I have access to the primary source now. So it's like I know exactly how they want it. I can give my own feedback about like, oh, I think this sounds better if it's like this.
So how would you say your background is reflected within the music in terms of who you are and where you came from? And, I know it is limited in terms of the amount of creativity that you have within composing. But when you do have that freedom, how does your past or who you are as a person reflect? How is that reflected within the music?
It's difficult because it's like, again, like you said, I don't really have the opportunity to do that much. But I will say it's reflected in the way that I hear the music. So it's
Mm,
like growing up, you have the type of music that you're drawn to, right? Whether
hmm
that's like whatever that is, that changes the way that you hear the music or you experience or you express the music. So it's like just typically black people tend to be more rhythmically inclined.
hmm
We
hmm
hear the music like, soul music. So we go
Yeah.
towards that. So the way we intake this and put it back out is going to reflect that. I hope that makes sense.
No, understood for sure. On that same note, what challenges do you face, like as a black man in the music world, where you may not be the minority in all your spaces, but you being the minority in an already like minority genre, I guess. Like, how do you face those challenges, and what type of challenges do you face?
For me, I'm gonna just speak from my experiences. The biggest challenge was just accepting the fact that I belong in any room that God puts me in,
Mm,
which is not always the easiest to accept when, like, a lot of the times I am the only person that looks like me or
hmm
has had the same experiences that I've had, which a lot of times I feel like is more important than skin color, to be honest. Like, I know a lot of times bring it back to the whole skin color thing,
hmm
but it's like I believe that we bond over experiences, not skin color.
Right. Environment.
Because, right, right, exactly. Your experiences and your environment, they create the world that you know. So it's
Right.
hard to be in a place where it's like you're the only person that knows the world as you know it.
On a different note, how have you mentioned that you had injuries as a part of your obstacles. How did those come about? If you care to share how those impacted your journey, slowed you down, or maybe taking you on a different route, maybe
Yeah.
forced you to learn a new skill, just tell us a story about those.
So yeah, I've had two different injuries. I've broken my left wrist. I've had a torn tendon in my right hand. All happening within the last 2 years.
Wow.
I'll start with the wrist though. You want to know the stories or just the like impacts and
Yeah,
stuff?
if you care to share, and then maybe just spin it into a possible positive if it's forced you to learn a new skill or anything like that.
All right, I'll start with the wrist first, just because I kind of laugh about that one now. It came playing basketball. I was feeling it. I was hot this game. I'm like, you know what? I'm finna dunk on this nigga. So
Mm.
keep in mind, I'm 5'6", but I'm 6'5" on the good day though. And this dude,
Yeah.
he's super tall, bro. He's actually like 6'5". But I don't
Mm.
know what I was thinking. I'm driving. I'm like, you know what? I'm finna go for it. I go up. I don't even think bro jumped. He didn't even jump. He put his hands up and I just came down. He didn't catch me though. I still blame him for not catching me. That's kind of, but I came down on the wrist. It was crazy because, in the moment, you don't really feel all the pain.
Adrenaline.
That joint still hurt though. I was hurt.
Mm.
I got up. I'm acting like you don't know what a wrist is, but this joint, it was down here. Like it was down like this where the bone started sticking out. It was down.
Oh,
I grabbed that joint, pull it up, and then from there, my mind is just racing because it's like this is the first real injury I've ever had, and of course it
yeah,
comes to my hand, the one thing
yeah,
that I need in life.
yeah,
I'm not gonna go through everything after that, but
yeah.
from there, I'm like, it was scary at first because it's like just a bunch of uncertainty just about how it's going to affect my career, my plan. Will I be able to play the same? But it ended up being a blessing though, because it allowed me to take that break from the music to kind of like take the break while I was still in school. So it was like, even though I was still so close to it, I was still very far removed from it because I'm not able to do anything. I'm just watching other people. That kind of like made me
Becoming a
hungry.
consumer instead of a producer.
Right. It made
Right.
me hungry in a sense. And then it also helped me get my love back for it because I'm like, I had to start over from ground zero, reworking that wrist up again. Now, fast forward a year later, keep in mind these happened literally a year apart. That was like the first week of September in 2023. I tore my tendon the last week of September, like 2024, year apart. This happened. I can't really get into too much detail just because of the nature of how it happened. I was at a restaurant and the door shattered on me. causing the injury. The timing of it though, it wasn't as productive as the wrist injury was. Cause at this time it's like I'm getting ready for my senior recital. It's time to start auditions for grad school. So it's like this coming at the time that it did put me out for like that whole semester plus more. So it's like I had my first grad school audition in January and I didn't start practicing again until like December. And on top of that, it's like I still feel like I was trying to push myself because I just didn't have any more time. So it's like I'm practicing, then I'm taking these breaks, icing the finger, then going back, trying to practice through the pain. It's just all that stuff. But like I said, I can't really, it's still.
I was glad that you mentioned that it was a blessing and it changed your perspective and your position in music. You became a consumer and you had to relearn something that you thought, or that was second nature beforehand. On a more positive note, what's next for you? So we know what happened in the past. What's next for you?
Well, I'll be continuing my education. I'm going to San Francisco Conservatory of Music to get my master's. I do have so my friend, my great friend, really a brother now, and composer Christopher Armstrong. He wrote a piece for me that I commissioned last month, but that should be releasing on social media sometime in the fall. And yeah, that's what's next.
Great, congratulations. Last question. What song do you currently have on repeat every single day?
Oh, you want the safe or the dangerous answer? All right, safe. Not really safe, but this is my genre right here. Escapades. It's a piece by John Williams. He's a film composer. So this was from the Catch Me If You Can movie that I actually haven't even seen yet. I've only seen the play.
The most recent one?
I wouldn't even know. I think it's from like no, it can't be. It's from like 2001 or something. I don't know when it came out. I haven't seen that play. But it's amazing. Specifically the one with Branford Marsalis though. If you're gonna check it out, listen to his. Just because well everybody knows John Williams, he write his butt off, that's like Star
Mhm.
Wars and stuff. But Branford, just the sound that he gets so warm, his phrasing is amazing. On the other note, I won't really give you songs, but I give like artists I listen to, heavy, just being from Chicago, gotta support G Herbo. Or, he's a
Some
constant,
favorite.
yeah, constant in the midst. But yeah. That's
Great, man. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show, Star Studio. Like I said, my name is Isaiah Parrish, and this is Sean Edwards. But yeah, appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your day.